This podcast is brought to you by the Maryland State Library Agency. The MSLA podcast features presenters from statewide youth programs, as well as learning opportunities for library staff and resources for patrons of the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Library for the Blind and Print Disabled Guest Hour podcast. We are so excited because October is Blindness Awareness Month, and we have Mark Riccobono with us. For those who don't know, Mark Riccobono is the president of the National Federation of the Blind here in Maryland. It is the national organization. I'm going to read his bio. So, Mark Riccobono was raised by hardworking parents with no experience of blindness. Diagnosed as legally blind at the age of 5, he never let his blindness hinder him. Despite facing challenges in a rough middle school, he excelled in high school and later found support with the National Federation of the Blind. Graduating from the University of Wisconsin, Mr. Riccobono became a prominent advocate and leader in the blind community. He served as director of the Wisconsin Center for the Blind and later as the executive director of the Jernigan Institute. Elected president of the National Federation of the Blind in 2014, he continues to drive critical initiatives and advocate for blind individuals while balancing his family life with his leadership responsibilities. Welcome, Mr. Riccobono.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
You are so welcome. Well, I am just so excited to have you here. As you know, October is Blindness Awareness Month, and there is just so many questions I have to ask you. But the first one is, of course, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Sometimes people ask me, what's your favorite season of the year? And I, come from Wisconsin where, well, some people say that you don't have four seasons in Wisconsin, but you do. And fall is always, I love fall. I love all the seasons for different reasons, but fall is just something about it that a little bit of crispness in the air in the morning, but still not, a little bit of warmth in the day, just, so much about it. So, yeah, loving it.
So it's about that time of the year for you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think I call them the twilight seasons. They're the seasons in between fall and winter
Yeah.
and spring and summer where it's just the perfect 72 degrees.
There you go.
So my first question to you is what inspired you to become involved with the National Federation for Blind and what has kept you motivated all these years?
This may sound counterintuitive, but the fact of the matter is, I need a community of blind people. I That's what drew me to the National Federation of the Blind, and it's what keeps me engaged. I recognize that I'm just one person, and the wisdom of the blind community and blind people who are living the lives they want. I benefit from that. I hope that they benefit from what I put into it too. It's not all about taking. I've learned that by giving, that's where actually a lot of the learning happens. But I didn't know I was a blind person. I've been legally blind since age 5, but I didn't recognize I was a blind person. I had enough remaining vision that I could fake it, and I was really good at faking it. And I can talk to people all day about faking it, but I finally hit, a figurative wall where I couldn't really compete faking it, and I had to find people who were excelling in the world as blind people so I could learn what they did. And in the process, I learned, man, there's a lot I have to learn, but also, hey, I want to contribute to this community and be part of building the wisdom of this community. And I've met people of every diverse characteristic you can think of, blind people all over the world. Why am I motivated? It's There's so much still to learn and to do as a community, and I love meeting blind people from all sorts of different backgrounds. It enriches my life that we have that shared characteristic of living life with excellence and with blindness.
I love that. I love that. It's one of those things for me to stay motivated you're right. You do need to have a community surrounding you. So I love that you are all about community.
Yeah.
What are the most significant challenges blind individuals face today, and how is NFB addressing these issues?
So the National Federation of the Blind is a membership organization of blind people. So of course, we're rooted in the concerns of blind people, the hopes and dreams of blind people, and that's what we work on every day. So to boil it down to a few things, because it's a very complicated question. Uh, Access to information continues to be a significant problem that blind people face, right? It takes many different forms, whether it's access to technology, access to printed information, access to documents when you go to the doctor, access to technology at the grocery store. Access to information is a significant barrier and one that we work on every day. A second is access to resources. It's fine that we have laws like the Americans with Disabilities Act, the Rehabilitation Act, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, but how do you actually navigate those laws and make sure that the system is doing what it needs to do? So there's an access to information issue there, and we spend a lot of time working on that. But then a big one is the public misunderstanding about blindness, right? The low expectations that exist. That's a huge issue, continues to be a huge issue for blind people. And so we're constantly working on that. It expresses itself in many different ways, sometimes discrimination, sometimes just really limiting the opportunities that blind people have. Last one I would mention is the way that we're tackling these problems is bringing a community of blind people together. We recognize that we're not waiting around for someone else to solve the problems we face, but blind people coming together, thinking, speaking, acting for ourselves, we can drive the true solutions to these issues and more by creating that community. So we're building a community, and we could go in depth about the programs and different things that the federation does, but it's about building a community that's working together.
I think that actually is perfect to going right into my next question, because it sounds like you've had a lot of success building a community and advocating for change.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, can you share some of your recent successes in advocacy and policy change?
Sure. Well, a lot of times the changes are incremental, and sometimes the changes take a long, long time. So I guess I'll just, offer a few. So one is may seem pretty distant, but in 2011 we got a bill passed that said that all electric hybrid vehicles in this country that are going to operate on the streets need admit some minimum standard of noise so that blind people can hear them. Uh, you know, Cars have become very quiet, and blind people use the sound of traffic as a key indicator. That was 2011. There's a lot of work we did to get that law, but after that law, making sure that the regulations went into effect and are actually being implemented on the streets of America by the automobile manufacturers. Those regulations took final effect in 2021, and there's a long history there. Why do I bring that up as a recent success? Well, it's to say that policy change is not flipping a switch. You can get a bill through Congress, but you still have to see it through to, what actually happens in implementation. Similarly, we have been working for a long time on the legal front and the technology front on access to digital information in the 21st century. The White House promised us in 2010 that they would release regulations related to the Americans with Disabilities Act and digital accessibility. We have sued in many places in this country to set the precedent in the courts that the internet is a place of public accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act, but the law still is not explicitly say it, right? Congress didn't explicitly say it, wasn't in the regulations. Just this year, We got the final regulations from the Department of Justice for Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which covers government websites. So this is not all the public websites we encounter, but it is government websites. And it's a significant step forward because where there was a gray area before, there is no longer a gray area and creates some opportunity for us. So I guess, there's a lot of examples I could give where over time things happen. Also, we continue to police the emerging areas and make sure that blind people have access. Good recent example is the government said we're going to give out free COVID test kits to all Americans. We said, great. That means they're accessible to blind people, right? And the White House said, oops. No, they won't be actually. And so we worked with the administration and actually have set off a huge effort within the federal government to examine the levers that the government can be using to create accessible at home testing. Now, unfortunately, they're still not there yet. The government is again distributing tests, and the tests that the government are distributing for blind people are not what we would call fully accessible. But the beauty is the government's thinking about it and trying to prioritize it much more than they were. So those are some recent examples.
Those are some really good examples. I work closely with our assistive technology education coordinator. So he lets me in on all the changes in technology that's coming out. But, I don't always stop to think about whether or not a technology that's being distributed nationwide is accessible.
Mhm.
So, that's a really important success there, even if it is partial.
Incremental, yeah, absolutely.
So do you work directly with technology companies to ensure accessibility of their products and services, or do you how does that work?
So, yes, as a nationwide organization, we have a number of tools in our toolbox to work on accessibility. Here in Maryland, we do have our national headquarters, which is located in South Baltimore. And we do have operated the International Braille and Technology Center for the Blind in our building, where we purchase and curate all of the technologies, access technologies for blind people, Braille displays, screen readers, scan and read devices, that sort of thing. Now, when we established the International Braille and Technology Center in 1990, that universe was to some extent pretty finite. But of course, today, technology is everywhere, right? And it's not just specialized technology. It's in our appliances, in our homes. It's mainstream technology, and our approach has shifted in that we're pushing the big technology companies and the small ones to build accessibility in from the beginning. We don't want an add-on device. We want it to be built in. So our approach has changed. So first of all, we continue to be kind of the consumer reports for blind people. A lot of it is curating the experience of blind people with different technologies and sharing with blind people, our membership, what is the experience of blind people with these technologies. We offer to be a partner with technology companies, and many of them come to us today before products are launched, and they get our feedback and our advice on those implementations. We also say what we find, so we don't pull punches. We tell people if it works, and we tell people if it doesn't work. We try to help blind people not fall into the pitfalls of implementing technologies that are not fully accessible to them and don't fit the right uh, use case that they have. We also have a program to integrate more blind people into the testing of technologies. There are a lot of companies that have very good intentions. They've read the standards, they want to get it right, but at the end of the day, their developers aren't blind people. And so when they do quality assurance testing, they miss a lot of stuff. So we have what's called our Blind Users Innovating and Leading Design, our build program, where we onboard blind people to do testing, and then we make sure that the companies pay them for that testing, right? We shouldn't be giving them our quality time and reports for free. And so blind people can sign up to be part of our build program. And then, of course, we have that data and we can use that data to help, improve technology accessibility going forward. We also participate in research and think tanks about emerging technologies. And finally, we do a lot of training with technology companies on accessibility and that sort of thing. The fact of the matter is a lot of technology out there, and it takes a many-sided approach for us. Sometimes it's an advocacy hammer, sometimes it's a partnership relationship where they've come to respect the feedback we're giving them and recognize we're not just being critical for the sake of being critical, we're actually being critical in a way that improves their products for everyone. So it's a very dynamic environment and it happens all over the country.
That is a heavy, heavy lift.
No, heavy, definitely. Yeah.
How can I ask a follow-up
Yeah,
question
yeah,
based on
sure.
something you said? With it being such a heavy lift, how do you find the time to make sure that you are at the forefront of all this?
Well, we have to prioritize, right? And we have to try to curate the wisdom of the community. And so we're thinking a lot about that because today, we can't review every technology out there, right? And home appliance is a good example. And we've struggled with this, for more than a decade is uh, giving blind people tools so that when they go out to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever they buy appliances, they know the certain features to look for. We can't tell you, always what model of a Whirlpool or an LG product to buy because the models often differ based on different regions and that sort of thing. So we try to boil it down to here are some of the key features and questions you should ask. So our goal going forward is to really curate the wisdom of the community and what people know and allow blind people to weigh in on that. So if you've bought a home appliance and you think it's really great, you can contribute to that. So we're thinking also about how to take the information from the community and curate it so that blind people can find it quickly and easily when they're trying to make decisions about technology.
So cool.
Work in
That is
progress, I guess I'd say.
You had said you called yourselves the Consumer Reports, and
Yes.
I love that because there's been many a time where people have called to ask me about technology, and I'm lost. So this is great to
Yeah.
know. Stepping away from technology a little bit, the National Federation of the Blind has a very wonderful mission. I'm curious to know what role education and employment play in that mission, and what initiatives are in place to support blind job seekers and students.
So, as an organization of blind people, what we try to do is build a community that raises expectations, and we have put together a number of programs to help raise those expectations for individuals and plug them into this great community they have. So, a couple of examples are in the education space, we know that Braille literacy is one of the most important tools that we can give young people for lifelong success. The statistics show the research shows that there's a strong connection between Braille literacy and employment, successful employment, and it's about having more tools in your toolbox. So we've engineered programs to make sure that we're delivering quality Braille education to young blind people, especially where the schools are failing at that. We don't have time to dive down that rabbit hole, but also we've done a lot of work for blind youth in science, technology, engineering, art, and math. 20 years ago when we started these programs, the idea of STEM education is wasn't even a term back then, but we've been, pioneering for a long time that blind people should be in all of these careers, and very importantly, a lot of blind people over the last 20 years, because of our programs, have decided not to go into science and engineering. Why is that important? Well, you know, a lot of blind people who thought they wanted to go into science, it was because they read it in a book. But when you finally give them access to doing the hands-on stuff that you have to do in those careers, they're like, "Oh my god, I hate this." That's informed choice, right? So a lot of what we do is giving blind people that real informed choice. On the employment side, huge issue, right? Multi-sided issue. Some organizations out there will say, "Well, we have the silver bullet for blind people in employment." This is not true. So we do a couple of things. One is we're affiliated with model training programs. We know that the number one key to success for blind people is getting good training, having all the tools in your toolbox to live life as a blind person. If you haven't gotten access to good training, it's hard to go on and build a strong career because you're going to struggle with some of the things you're going to face. Number two is making those community connections with employers who really want to hire blind people. So we're building that through our employment committee. We have career fairs in October. On October 22nd, we have a virtual career fair. Would encourage anybody looking for a job to sign up at our website and get connected with employers who are actively seeking to hire blind people, right? That's very key. And then, through our Where the Blind Work webinar series, we're connecting blind people with other blind people who are in careers maybe you haven't considered. And so we know that, again, informed choice, you have to know about other blind people, what they're doing to be successful, and know that there are role models out there and mentors you can pull on as you go into your employment journey or reemployment, whatever it is. So, it's just network of communication and connections that's really important. And the last thing I would mention, which cuts across all these, is it's really important for all of us as citizens, but also in education and employment, to stay up to date on what's happening. And we have built the what we call NFB Newsline. It's the most comprehensive, free, accessible access to information service anywhere in the country. Of course, patrons of the library can easily sign up for it because the library can confirm that you're a blind person and eligible, but it gives you access to over 500 newspapers, periodicals, magazines, weather information. I mean, it does everything except make your coffee, actually. But, if you want to go into the workplace, you got to be up to date on what people are talking about. What are the issues? What are the issues related to the career you want to go in? If you're going to go into investment banking, you want to be able to read the Wall Street Journal and the business pages and the New York Times and that sort of thing. If you're going to go into sports writing, you need to be able to read the various publications and what people are saying and that sort of thing. So, Newsline, very important free service that helps blind people stay up to date and not have to deal with some of the other barriers that are out there.
I love promoting Newsline when NFB Newsline on when I do my outreach. It's one of the things I love to promote that we're a partner.
Yeah.
We have a Maryland channel, and we even put our podcasts up there now. So, which reminds me, I'm gonna have to update it.
There you go. There you go.
But for those who are listening, what Mr. Riccobono just said is so important about NFB Newsline. It is free through the library, and I encourage everyone to sign up for it. Let's talk about community for a second because you keep bringing this up, and I absolutely love different communities. It's part of what got me into my job is because I love to go out and visit um, and talk to people and just enjoy my time. Uh, how does the NFB engage with its members across different states? Because I mean, you're a huge national organization. So, what efforts do you make to ensure that the organization's work is getting out there?
So I often uh, say to folks, the most important word in our name is of, and uh, you can't separate the work of the organization from the members. In fact, the members are the ones determining what the organization does. We are a membership organization. Now, you just asked me some questions about various programs that we've initiated through our national office, our national organization, some services like Newsline that we've created, filling a need that was out there for blind people. All good stuff, but the fact of the matter is the members run the organization. The members make the decision, and, for me, as, president, I'm one of 17 members of the board. We all are blind people, and we all have to be elected every 2 years at the federation's national convention by the members. So, uh, it's not about what is the organization doing to engage the members. The members control the organization, and trust me, blind people who become members of the federation have no problem sharing their point of view. So, having said that, how do we uh, make sure that engagement and conversation happens? Well, first of all, we're big impressive nationwide organization, but everything is local. Everything is driven by our local chapters and affiliates, local conversations, and local communities where blind people are connecting with each other and where we let them know they have influence into this huge nationwide organization because they do, they run it. Second is creating communication channels for engagement, whether it's our social media or it's in our publications, or we have hundreds of email listservs where blind people are sharing and discussing, or I do a monthly communication on Zoom and YouTube to our members where I answer questions from members, and that's just an expectation that, I serve at the pleasure of the members. And so talking to blind people, hearing from blind people is a core part of what we do. Um, but we do come together in gatherings, and I will say on a nationwide level, the most powerful place this happens is our national convention. It's the largest gathering of blind people anywhere in the world on an annual basis. This year we had close to 2,600 people at our convention in Florida. Next year we're going to be in New Orleans, and it's a platform for bringing blind people from all over together to make connections, to discuss, to engage, to debate, and then to set an agenda for the next year of what we're going to do together.
Speaking as someone who worked right outside of New Orleans, good pick. Good pick. You had your convention there a couple years ago, didn't you?
We did. We were there in 2022, and looking forward to being back there. It's a great city. Great. The Marriott and Sheridan are great properties, and our affiliate in Louisiana, some of the most dynamic blind people doing very interesting work. So it's just going to be great all the way around.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you get a chance to travel to New Orleans, I'm gonna be excited for you. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's going for the crawfish, man. Going for the
Yeah.
crawfish.
There you go.
I want to ask you another question about the mission of NFB, and it's pulling on something you said earlier. How does the NFB promote public awareness and challenge the misconceptions about blindness?
Well, that's the age old biggest problem we face, right? Are the misconceptions about blind people. So, a number one is sharing with blind people every day, especially blind people that don't yet know that it is respectable to be blind and that blindness is not the characteristic that defines them. and that with proper training and opportunity, that blind people can do whatever they want, live the lives they want in a real way. We know that our best shot of changing the public image of blindness is first getting blind people to understand and believe it, because blind people have been talked out of it by those misconceptions that are around us in society. That's number one. Number two is getting stories of everyday blind people, from the everyday to the extraordinary, out in the public, into the media, writing, getting blind people to write their stories, podcast their stories through our communication channels about the experiences that blind people have. Again, the everyday and the extraordinary. So, that the average person starts to interact with those stories. Most people don't know another blind person. They've never met a blind person. What they know is what they saw in a popular movie, or read in classic literature, or got from the third grade play of Helen Keller. They don't really know the true experience of blind people. So it's getting the word out there. And then it's sometimes are engaging in interesting ways to get people thinking about blind people in a different way. So a good example is October. This is the 50th anniversary of the Rubik's Cube. And for the 50th anniversary of the Rubik's Cube, we worked with them to design a fully accessible Rubik's Cube for individuals without using vision. Now, it's not a new idea. There's been knockoffs of the Rubik's Cube, but this is, the actual Rubik's Cube brand creating an inclusive product for blind people. You say, well, why does that matter? Well, for a lot of people, they would think, well, why would a blind person care about doing this puzzle? But wait a minute, you could do this puzzle without seeing it, without looking at the colors. And can a blind person be just as fast as someone who's looking at it? Well, it turns out yes. Um, and for a lot of blind people, then it's helping give them the idea that you can do things tactily that you didn't know, because people have been solving the Rubik's Cube forever by looking at the colors on it, right? So you start to change the understanding. So there's really dozens of ways that we do that. It's also our commenting in the media and other places when there are negative images of blindness, or when blindness is being used in a very stereotypical way. We have the Paralympics happening, and the Paralympics, you got a lot of blind athletes, competing at a real high level. And so it's like promoting things like that so people know that blindness and the image of blindness and what's possible for blind people is not what you thought.
So, looking forward into the future, what would be your goals for NFB in the next couple of years?
It's the age old question. First is to continue to build a grassroots network of people. That's an everyday effort, and there's more capacity to be built at the local level. And when we can make those connections in a 21st century way, we all win. So that's going to continue to be a priority. Second would be continuing to increase our communication outlets, podcasting, blogging, that sort of thing, to influence the public understanding about blindness, but also to uh, really create those connections amongst the shared wisdom that we have in our community, and then find ways to engage more blind people in those discussions in a productive way. So, investing in our communication strategy, and of course, that also helps with our advocacy when we can mobilize folks online around a particular message. The more that we get people talking about how blind people are denied rides from rideshare drivers because they have guide dogs, or frankly, a lot of blind people have been passed by when someone sees the white cane, the more we can move our advocacy and policy agenda. And then I would say another goal would be making sure that blind people are in the center of being thought leaders about the implementation of technology and how it impacts us. The big topic right now is artificial intelligence. Well, you know what? The artificial intelligence systems have virtually been built without any real input from blind people. And so we want to put blind people in the center of that, our real experience, and then make sure that we're shaping AI to do the things that we want. You can ask an AI system today to describe a picture, and if they get a picture of a blind person, they won't always describe it in a positive way. We want the AI to not rely on the stereotypes of the past, but then we also want to leverage the AI to do the things we want. Imagine what is a very near future when you can ask an AI. In fact, I have a AI of myself that you can ask now questions about blindness, but a newly blind person can ask an AI, how do you do this as a blind person? And get a response, but that's not just driven by a large language model, but it's driven by data that's been collected from thousands of blind people. How powerful would that be? Last thing I'll mention is next 5 years, we intend to open the Museum of the Blind People's Movement here at our building in South Baltimore. There is no cultural institution anywhere in the world that has been developed and led by blind people, centered on the experience of blind people from the everyday to the extraordinary, and that has been implemented to tell our story in a way in a museum environment that is fully inclusive to everyone. A lot of museums are thinking about accessibility. Nobody has built one from the ground up to truly be accessible and inclusive in a way that is a model to other entities. We're going to do that, and this will be a very powerful platform for teaching people about the experience of blind people, and extending that into the online environment will fit into our communication strategy. So those are just a few goals, I would say.
Well, when that museum opens, you better be ready to come back and give us an audio tour.
Oh yeah, well, we'll hope you'll come down, and maybe the library will have a special day, at the museum.
Well, anytime I get to go to a museum, I'm excited. I'm a history nut, so if you've got history, I'm there to hear it.
Nice, nice.
So, we have a few more minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the Federation and anything at all?
Well, I think maybe the most important thing that we haven't said is, for anybody listening, frankly, whether you're blind or non-blind, as I like to say, you can be a member of the National Federation of the Blind, and presumably, you're living in Maryland, you can be a member of the National Federation of the Blind by joining one of our local chapters. I would invite you to do that. We recognize that we benefit from having every person who's blind put their voice into the mix of what we do. And we believe it will benefit you personally also. So I would invite people to join. That's more than just, paying $5 to a local chapter. It means coming and getting engaged in what we do, learning about it, and putting your ideas into the mix. We agree to work together to try to build a future together. And so we set our priorities together. You can be part of that, and we need you to be part of that, because what has made the biggest difference for blind people over the past 80, going on 85 years, is that blind people have been working together to determine their own future. So I would invite you into that, get to know about what we're doing, and come to be a part of it. You can visit our website, NFB, as in National Federation of the Blind, nfb.org. You can find information about our Maryland affiliate. You can also go to nfbmd.org to get directly to the Maryland affiliate. But our website is a great wealth of information. And I will say all of our information's out there for free. You can get Newsline. You can get our flagship publication, the Braille Monitor, for free on our website. Check it out. See if what we're producing makes sense to you. And I hope it does. And I hope you'll come to be part of it.
I'm just gonna repeat that website. It's N as in Nancy, F as in Frank, B as in boy, .org. And do you mind if I drop the phone number?
No, of course, yeah.
All right. Well, the phone number is 410-659-9314. Again, that number is 410-659-9314. And I know from personal experience that everyone who answers the phone is super, super helpful because I have called to ask questions. Thank you so much, Mr. Riccobono, for spending the day with me and answering my questions and getting information out there to our wider community. It's really important to me as a partner of the federation, as a person who enjoys getting out there and talking to various people. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, appreciate it, and I should say, I'm happy for people to send me an email, call me here at our national office. Also, my email address is office of the president, all one word, at nfb.org. I alluded to earlier that we've built an AI model based on my experience in the organized blind movement, and you can actually ask questions about the NFB and about me through that model if you want via text. It's not as good as talking to me directly, but it is so far the only AI that's really been built on the experience of blind people, and we're still teaching it based on blind people. You can send a text to my AI at 833-564-2271 and just ask it a question. And if it knows the answer or thinks it knows the answer, it'll give it to you. So if you have a question about the National Federation of the Blind, my experience, the bills we're working on, local chapters, ask it. If it doesn't know, that's a good opportunity for me to teach it something. And if you have something you think it should know, being an AI reflective of the blind community, let it know, and we'll keep building it up.
I love AI, so I can't wait to test it. I can't wait to test it. Well, if you wouldn't mind hanging on for a minute so that we can wrap up on the tail end, I want to thank everyone for listening today, and I will see you again next month.
This has been a presentation of the Maryland State Library Agency. For links to additional resources provided by today's presenter, please visit the show notes. For more information on MSLA or the Maryland State Library for the Blind and Print Disabled, visit marylandlibraries.org.